Hey everybody, this is Brad again, and in case you haven't noticed, I've been sort of challenging myself to record more of my thoughts and share some of my stories and some of my expertise, things I've learned, because people really seem to get some sort of value from them, and I wanted to share them with you, some of the stuff that I kind of thought and learned over the years. And one of the things that I definitely have seen as being a recurring problem, this one's a little bit more general to just business, but I especially see this all over the cannabis industry as well, is that sales and marketing are considered two almost completely separate things within an organization. You might have, say, like a VP of marketing within your company, or a VP of marketing and sales within your company, but very often what you'll find is that a marketing department and a sales department are being run like two totally separate problems are being solved in both of those departments, and not like they're actually solving the same problem. And so what I've noticed really helps is to kind of look at this problem holistically, and most of the companies that I talk with and consult with have some sort of missing piece to this problem. I currently have two clients, one of which is incredibly well marketed and has almost no outside sales department whatsoever. I have another company who has done almost all sales and has done absolutely no marketing whatsoever. And those companies are finding some traction, and most companies in the startup phase will see sort of one side of that coin have more priority to the other. But once you're actually starting to get up and running, these are really this is the same problem, just two sides of the same problem. So if you think about it as a coin, sales and marketing are the heads and tails in that coin. But at almost every organization that I've ever worked with or consulted with or just seen as an observational person in this space, is that you'll find the sales team has totally separate meetings from the marketing team. They have people who do not talk to one another, and in fact, oftentimes disrespect one another. Most of the time, sales departments think marketing is fluff. Marketing thinks salespeople are crazy, egotistical, and there's not really generally a whole lot of equity between those two problems. Here's why this is a big problem for most companies, because really you have to generate revenue. That's what the business does. And the ways to generate revenue, there are marketing and there are sales. There's also customer retention and customer service. And these things all need to be part of the same overall messaging, the same overall ethos, and the same overall culture for them to even work together. So if you're going to be out there selling people a message, telling the story of the company, and you're a salesperson, and you're not talking to the marketing department, and they're out there telling their story of the company out in Facebook land or in the public, in PR, you're both telling two different stories. And if you aren't talking to each other, then you don't know which side of the story is really the story for the company. You'd be surprised how often those stories become different. And I think we learned this as children, that like telephone game is a very real thing, and that just the tiniest little bit of translation problems can skew a message entirely. What I've found is that with most companies, if you lined up 10 people from marketing, customer service, customer retention, HR, and sales, and put them into isolation booths and ask them to tell the story of the company, what you'd get are 5 totally different answers. Very rarely will those all be the same answer. And this is a major problem for most companies. This is going to hinder revenue across the board. And here's why. Whenever you really put these things together, when you treat this holistically and you get the sales team and the marketing team to be meeting together at the very least, and then start bringing in customer service, customer retention, HR components to those meetings and that brainstorm, you're finding that everybody will be on the same page. So when your salespeople are out there selling the products, or they're out there selling the mission of the company, making business relationships, networking, what they're going to hear back is feedback, like in real time, from actual customers who's going to tell them what they do or don't like about their service. They'll give them objections. They'll give them points that really, like, they'll tell them what they like about it, because they'll want them to know, like, hey, this is really what worked for me. If the sales team is not coming back and telling marketing all of these things that just occurred, marketing doesn't really know what the problems those salespeople face in the marketplace are. So if clients are giving salespeople objections, those objections should directly be fed back to the marketing team, who could then make content to deal with those objections. So the salespeople can then prime the pump, so to speak, and start to reach out to people ahead of time before they meet them, provide them with content that can already address those objections, and have a much more effective and more efficient sales meeting, and probably increase their revenue without having the drain of going back and forth. So if the salespeople are getting the objections and they're getting the feedback and they're coming back to marketing and saying, hey, marketing, here's what we think you need to create content for because we have this problem. This particular type of customer doesn't like our service because of X, Y, and Z. Then they get that content, and then in that meeting, here you go, we created a blog, we created a video, we got a story out in one of the major publications for you to then take to the market and go with. Go sales team, off you go. And then they'll take that content and they'll run out and they'll do a better job. When you're talking about customer service, customer retention, and HR, I'm a little more general on these topics because in general, what I'm talking about is them just knowing the same story and getting people on the same page. When the company ethos and the company culture is woven from the history of the company story all the way to your sales and marketing people, and it's done well, then everyone should be able to tell this story like storytellers within their own company in every single department. They should all be saying the same thing. They should be following the same style. When you see Zappos, for instance, and they got a great name for this, their customer service is specifically powerful because of the fact that it is the entire company culture and ethos woven through every single touch point of working with a customer. And as a result, they had some of the happiest customers, they had some of the greatest customer retention, and some of the greatest revenues. But their marketing team understood that. They talked in the same language almost. And you never find your HR departments, your sales departments, and your marketing departments speaking in the same language. One of the reasons why is because they're considered departments, like literally separate from each other, when really they should all be participating in the storytelling of the company. And I know this sounds kind of lofty and sort of dreamy, like let's all be storytellers, but that's what's really effective. People identify with stories. If I go out and just start talking about statistics to people, if I was sitting here telling you, like, did you know that 37% of the people that you talk to are going to retain information and spend 10% more in total overall revenue year over year if you start telling stories more effectively and including component A, B, and C in that story? You're not going to listen to me. But if I'm able to tell you a story of someone I've actually worked with, problems I've actually seen, and can make it relative to you just in any way, you're going to retain that information, and then maybe statistics can back that up. So when I see companies going out into the marketplace, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's investor pitches, and all they're talking about is like the features of their platform for their software company, or if all they're talking about are the different products that they sell and how varied all their products are, how organic all their products are, there's very little for me to latch onto there. Those are just features. Those are just buttons on a universal remote control. But if you can tell me by going here, I'm going to be a lot happier, I'm going to find more time to spend with my family because things are more efficient, more effective, I'm going to be able to send my kids to college because I'm making more money as the CEO of my company, or whatever those scenarios might be, now I'm listening. Now you've actually reached me in a place that matters, you know? You're not just selling me a bunch of buttons on a controller. You're actually telling me something that means something to you, that means something to the employees that work for you. Sometimes just hearing from employees is some of the best content that as a customer I could get before making a decision on hiring somebody. If I know that the employees that work at this company are all very happy and can tell me this message, the same message that everybody else, you know, whether sales or marketing can tell me, then I know it's true. I know it's not bullshit, and I know it really means something. And so telling that story, connecting to people in a real way, this is something that every member of the organization needs to know how to do. They need to at least understand the core components that make it the same, and then they need to start meeting together. Your director of sales and marketing, your VP of sales and marketing, your CMO, your CEO, whoever those roles are, they need to be really thinking holistically if they want to be the most effective at their role in the leadership. And the people within the organization, the people who are leading the sales efforts, the people who are running the marketing strategy, they too should be calling on these things to happen within their organization so they can be more effective. I can't tell you how many great artists are starving away right now within marketing departments just wishing someone would listen to them. But they're not also effectively showing the organization how they can make things happen by giving their input and by having this holistic conversation happening. So by doing this, you increase the company culture across the board. You're going to be more effective as a sales and marketing organization because you're going to know better what to do. You're going to have happier people working for you because they know that they've got a system they can work within where things actually do matter and they can actually tell a story. They're not just hawking a bunch of wares. Whenever you've got people just hawking wares, playing the numbers game, if that's all you're playing, you're just going to reduce them down to dollars and cents. And human beings don't feel that way. They don't work that way. So you're not going to have happy employees. You're not going to have happy customers. You're going to be a dollars and cents, just fractional margins game, and that sucks. And nobody likes that. So maybe you'll win a couple bucks. Maybe you'll win the whole game. I don't know. All I know is if you want to do things that really matter, if you want to see what I've seen really work and not work, this is what really matters. It is getting your organization to tell the right story. I come from theater. I don't come from sales and marketing. I can't tell you that I went to Harvard Business School and I've got all of the statistics to back me up. What I can tell you is I'm a professional storyteller. I've been doing it my whole life. And what works, people have told me my whole life also that I'm a great salesperson. I grew up in a company, see, now I'm talking like a fucking salesperson. I was raised in a family full of salespeople, all full of entrepreneurs. And so this sort of got injected to me in a certain way, but I've never been a salesperson. I have only ever been a storyteller. I've been someone who, whether I'm doing sales, marketing, PR, whatever component of the organization I work within, I'm trying to tell the best possible story because I know that's what's most effective. I know that's what gets people to care about things. This is something artists know that business people rarely ever do, and it's what makes them so valuable as business people, is that we know how to tell that story. So, you know, from my opinion, from what I've seen, the companies that are telling the story the best, that everybody within the organization knows how to tell, those companies are making the most revenue. Those companies have the happiest employees. Those are the ones that are really going to be making the brands that everybody wants to be like. If you want to play the dollars and cents game, that totally works, but maybe try pairing them up together. But really, that's what I've seen. I know it works. And, you know, hopefully if you can start to think more holistically like this in your organization, you can see some of this benefit as well. Or you can just hire me to help you. So anyway, that's it for today. Making it a little shorter. Hope you guys have a great day.